1. My bus was delayed by 5 hours at a long-distance terminal in the middle of nowhere in rural Florida. I, a short, husky, and white teenager, was dressed in a black button-up red tie and black pants, with my eyeliner and mascara from the Rocky Horror Show I had attended before traveling, probably looking a bit worse for wear. I was sitting for a decent while when I noticed that an older, probably late 60s or early 70s lady was trying to do something on the self-service kiosk and muttering to herself in Spanish. She seemed to be getting frustrated and was darting her eyes around for employees. But the place was packed with people due to the delays at around 3 a.m., so not many were around. Someone eventually did stop to try to help her, and I heard "No hablo inglés," causing the person to just look kind of puzzled and walk off. I was in my 3rd semester of Spanish at the time, so I slowly walked over and said, "Excuse me, do you need some help?" She asked if I spoke Spanish, to which I replied that I was still learning but would do my best. She clapped her chest with a literal "Dios mío," and we pleasantly worked through what she needed done and went our separate ways. Someone had taken my seat, so I was just standing around for a minute or two when I get the tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see a large white woman with an inordinate amount of luggage and a child in tow. The kid is nose deep into a DS and isn't really paying attention, but she looks me up and down with what appeared to be disgust before demanding that I get her luggage to wherever it has to go. I had no idea what that is, and was honestly super exhausted, so I start to say, "I'm sorry, but I don't..." Before I can finish, she butts in with, "Don't you fuck with me, this place is going crazy, and every other employee is busy. So even an office guy, supervisor, or wherever you are, should be out here working with customers. I saw you help that other lady, so you can damn well help me with my bags." I raised my hands and started to explain again that I didn't know anything and didn't work there. But she was not having it, and started to raise her voice a bit. At this point, her child notices her volume, looks up at me with what seemed like a mixture of confusion and embarrassment, then tugs on her shirt and says, "Mom, I don't think he..." She then turns quick and gives him a snit, not even a shush. Just like that loud click hiss noise that dog whisperer guy used on TV. Then she started in on me being a lazy, unprofessional snowflake or whatever. Just then, the elderly lady comes up from the side of us, shaking her cane at the large woman, and shouts in the best English she could muster, "You leave my nephew alone, he's a good boy." The big woman turned to see this old lady with straight-up lightning in her eyes, and a big bit of mahogany inches from her face. Then she just turns around and leaves with her kid. No apology. Nothing. Once her and her kid are a fair distance away, I thank the older woman, and she just motions for me to follow her. We go outside to a bench by the entrance, and she offers me a cigarette. As she lights one up, I say, "No thank you." She then pulls a thermos out of her purse and offers me some coffee. I once again say no thank you, but she pours it anyway, and comments about how coffee here is so terrible. Turns out she was visiting from Guatemala to see her son, who works with a company that imports, blends, and roasts Guatemalan coffee. We're both coffee snobs, so we just sit and chat about coffee, our families, and why on earth I'm dressed like I am until her bus is called to board. I of course offered to help her with her luggage, but she said she only has one small bag and is fine with carrying it. Definitely an interesting capstone to a very interesting weekend. 2. This didn't happen to me, but I overheard the whole thing. A customer walked up to the counter yesterday and said that his travel cup that he bought had a small leak on the rim when he drank from it, and he wanted to exchange it. My manager overheard and asked how he could help, as he had the most knowledge on that particular product. Side note, I later learned that when the customer showed my customers the leak, he tilted the cup almost upside down, and the cup still had coffee in it from that morning. The customer explained that his cup leaked and he wanted a new one, but he wanted us to test a new one in store to make sure it didn't leak. My manager then calmly explained to him that unfortunately that particular cup was not actually leak-proof. If he wanted to exchange it for the same model, we could not guarantee that the next one would not leak either. However, he would be happy to test it for him to see for sure. The customer then got aggressive and started almost yelling at my manager that his friend has the same cup, his doesn't leak. And his friend said that cup leaking is a defect, so he either wants an exchange for a cup that doesn't leak or his money back. My manager calmly explains that the leak is not a defect since the cup is not leak-proof, and he would still be happy to exchange or refund the cup. He just wants the customer to be aware that if he gets the same one, it may leak on him again. They have this back and forth for about 5 minutes, with my manager calmly explaining that the cup isn't leak-proof and all the solutions he can provide, and the customer yelling that the leak is a defect because his friend said so. My manager eventually gets the customer to calm down, and he shows him the other travel cups we have that are made to be leak-proof, but the customer doesn't want any of them because they don't have a handle. Eventually, the customer just exchanges his cup for the same model, hoping that the next one doesn't leak. We did end up testing the new one for him, and it did the same thing his current one does, because the cup is not made to be leak-proof. We explained this to him, and he took it away, all the while still saying that the leak is a defect because his friend told him so. My manager ended the conversation by giving the customer tips on how to take the cup apart when cleaning it to hopefully get out the excess liquids getting trapped in the lid, which might be contributing to the leak. The customer said that he wasn't going to put that much effort into cleaning his cup every time he used it, and that he was just going to hope it didn't leak because his friend said the leak was a defect. This may seem tame compared to some of the stories you've heard, but the way the customer went from understanding to blind rage was astounding. Plus his refusal to understand that we were trying our best to solve his problem, just that the best solution wasn't what he originally wanted, was just astounding to listen to. A little while later, he came back in while I was off and started complaining that he couldn't get the cup back together when he took it apart to clean it, because he wasn't paying attention when my manager explained it to him. When my coworker tried to show him how to put it together, he just complained more that my coworker was doing it wrong, and that his way was different than how the instructions said to do it. My manager ended up showing him how to put it back together. Shocker, in the same way my coworker was trying to show him. 3. Living in Japan, you will see that most of the convenience stores have either Vietnamese staff or brown staff, foreign workers from Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, etc. Service jobs are greatly understaffed there, so you will mostly see one Japanese worker and multiple foreign workers at the minimum wage jobs. I, an Indian, too, worked at the store Lawson for 3 years part-time during university. Back then, in my 3rd year of working, I was made a leader of night shift, i.e. running the whole store at night by myself. Night shift is very different from day shift. Besides serving the large number of customers, you have to sort out the accounts, record and check the inventory, liaise with supply people, deep cleaning of equipments, stocking up, cooking, etc. Fast forward to a couple years later, I'm in the Japanese corporate world. Every time I go to a 2nd-tier or 3rd-tier city for business or tourism, going into a convenience store, I am greeted with the "Otsukare-sama desu," which means thanks for the good work, meant for co-workers instead of "Irashamase," welcome, and "Mata okoshi kudasaimasu," please come again, meant for customers. Most of the times I just say "Otsukare" back. Sometimes when I'm in a foul mood, I patiently correct them saying I don't work here. As they say in China, never slap a smiling face. Comes the main episode. I get an apartment in Azabujayan, a posh high-income district in Tokyo, famous for being populated by white expats. 2 a.m. at night, I go to the Lawson nearby. 7-Eleven was a bit nearer, but I'm partial to Lawson. It was a big store, and full of irritated drunk salarymen and rich brats. The only employee there, Japanese, is confused, panicking, and overworked. The supply truck guy is yelling, salarymen are yelling. It's mayhem. The employee eyes me and yells, "Hey, it took you so long, come and help me a bit." I almost lost my temper too and smiled, and thought, let's do this. Tomorrow's Saturday anyways. I first met up with the annoyed supplied guys. They have to bring their trucks to every store in Tokyo, so staying at one store for more than a couple minutes would disrupt the whole schedule. Had the supplies checked, dialed in the records, got the hanko from the usual place, stamped and finished the procedure. Next, called a taxi for the passed out people and escorted them to a safer place. Then took up the register. And in the next 10 minutes, all the customers were served and the store was empty. The employee gave a huge sigh of relief, closed his eyes, and got on his knees. I quietly went to stock the ice cream supply in the cold cases. My dude, after a bit of rest, called, "Thanks for the efficient help. By the way, you haven't worn your Lawson jacket yet. Could you wear it, please? Or it would be super unprofessional." I said, "I don't have a jacket. I don't even work here." He was like, "What? Didn't the manager send you as a replacement?" I said, "Nope. I live in the apartment a block away and came here to shop. Told him I used to work in a Lawson many years ago, so was familiar with the procedures." He was very, very embarrassed and said sorry and thank you, and around 20 different phrases of polite Japanese. I was like, "Chill, man, I'm gonna come here often, so yoroshiku ne, I'm in your care." Felt good overall in the aftermath and taught me again that as a senior guy in corporate headquarters, I must always be mindful of the mental and physical health of the people on the front lines. Must not leave them with any inadequacies, as they are the ones who represent the big company to the world and do the actual work. 4. Do you guys remember when fidget spinners were super popular? It's probably been 4 years now since that time. Those who have no idea what I'm talking about, they were toys that had 3 circles on each end of a triangle, with a circle in the center that made the device spin. Now that you have an image of what it is, here's the story. I was working in a make-your-own burrito place at this time. Me and the manager were working a very slow day. It had been like that for a while. At that place, when it sat slow, anytime a customer walks in, even alone, the whole crew would go up and help them. So instead, a customer walks in. I go and greet them. I notice he has a fidget spinner. Keep in mind, he is spinning it the whole time I am making his food. Me and him walk down each section of the food with most of my co-workers, including the manager grabbing small things for the order. Me and the customer get to the cold selection. I don't really remember how it happened. Not sure if he was trying to show me a trick or was just moving closer to the glass to get a better look at the cold options. But he got closer, bringing his fidget spinner on top of the sneeze guard. While doing one of the things I mentioned, something happens to cause his fingers to slip. He drops his fidget spinner and it lands straight into a brand new container of salsa we just put out. Since everyone was helping him, the whole crew saw what happened. The manager comes over and fishes the spinner out of the salsa. Meanwhile, the guy's shocked and telling us he'll pay for the salsa since we couldn't serve it anymore. My manager cleans the spinner and hands it back to him and says it was an accident and that he doesn't have to pay for it. I think she was just shocked, but happy he was willing to own up to his mistake. But eventually, after more apologizing, I finish making his food and he leaves the store. Some say he was never seen again. Others say they've worked in food so long they can't recognize faces. 5. I just want to know from servers, what does this interaction mean? I have only experienced this once, and I am not pleased with how I handled this. I went to a pancake house similar to IHOP. Not IHOP, because screw them. I dined with my friend Ink and his new girlfriend, Needle. They were both tattoo artists, so they're very colorful and pierced. We arrived at the diner and waited to be seated. The server greeted us, sat us, and gave us menus. We ordered quickly because we knew what we wanted due to being there often. Now do note, it was nowhere near closing time or was packed in any fashion. Right after we ordered, the server brought us our check. No drinks, no food, just the check. We were stunned and laughed nervously. "Is this real?" Ink chuckled. We figured we'd just wait for our order. And wait. And wait. I look over to where our server was, and she was just standing there chatting with another server. Okay, maybe the kitchen is a little slow. maybe understaffed. We still waited and started to wonder if the server was just kicking us out. I flagged her, and when she came over, I asked about our order. We have waited longer than usual at this point. She rolls her eyes and makes a sound, stamped her foot and said, "My God, okay, it takes a while to cook." She storms off, and I hear her telling the kitchen our order. Did she just put our order in? From there, it took the usual amount of time for our food to come out. It was perfectly cooked. We loved it. However, our drinks were missing. We asked the server for our drinks, and she whines, "My God, you're so picky." And she brought us 3 waters, not what we ordered. We complained, and she just makes that noise again and left. Never got our drinks. After we got halfway eating, a different server came and asked us how things were. We told her what happened and that we still didn't have our drinks. She apologized and left. Still no drinks. We finished our food and we were ready to pay. With this diner, you bring your check to the counter to pay. So, rude server, no drinks, late service, and no one came to collect plates and refill our waters. Don't worry, we still tipped her. We're not animals. No, instead we left the tip. Cannot remember how much it was, right on the table. Then we placed some of the plates on top of it, put the glasses with the ice still in them on the plates, dumped the remaining amount of syrup over the towers of glasses, making sure not to mess the tip, mind you. Decorated the sides of the glasses with the silverware using the syrup as adhesive, and topped it off with a little flag we randomly found on the table next to us. Ink took a picture of our masterpiece and paid our bill. Like I said, not too happy about our response. We took a while to exit to see our server's response. She didn't bother to move to the table. We got in the car and looked through the window. The flag started to sadly droop down the side of the glass. No sign of the server. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 161. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories and sent in stories for use in this video. Before you go, please do boop the like button and share the video with a friend or family member. And also, if you have a story yourself you'd like to share, you can send that in to kingofthecities@gmail.com. That's kingofthecities@gmail.com, and you can find that in the description of this video. Okay, let's see. Yeah, just to opine on the last story there. I'd guess the server was, I guess maybe her parents owned the place, is the impression I get. Or maybe they were owners of it. It was like a franchise thing. I don't know the particular branch. Obviously, we're keeping that secret for privacy reasons. But it definitely sounds like someone who was forced to be there. So that to me sounds like maybe the parents own it. Right. I don't think we've got any special shout-outs to do today. No, the next one is Sunday. Okay, so we'll move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: name a role, a fictional character that you always adore regardless of who plays them. Like you can always find something you'll like about a performance because it's just a version of a character you love. And the longer we move in to the age of modern media, the more and more beloved characters get recast, and sometimes multiple times. We've got, three Captain Kirks at this point. A dozen Spocks. Alright, that's an exaggeration. But probably about 3 of each, I think, at this point. And, of course, for me, the biggest one is probably the Doctor from Doctor Who. And it doesn't matter who plays that character, doesn't matter what changes they go through, I will always find something I enjoy about the performance. There are occasionally times I don't like other things about the production going on, but I have never found a Doctor that's let me down in terms of the performance they give. And I'm assuming that's probably going to continue with Ncuti Gatwa, the new Doctor, but we'll see. Maybe he'll be the first one I don't like, but I highly doubt it. But let me know what you think. Let me know some of your favorite characters, long-running, recent-running, where there's been more than one actor to have played the role that you're always happy to see, no matter what. and maybe let me know what it is about them that you like. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.